Hello and welcome to this week's look at action and stunts on film and television. How are you? Good to see you again. Thank you for stopping by. We are in 1976. We're always in the 70s at some point, to be fair, of late. But we were 1978 the last couple of weeks. 1976 this week. And if you've heard the podcast already, you will know that we are looking at The Eagle Has Landed. Jack Higgins' book from 75, which was adapted for the big screen by John Sturges, the director who was responsible for, a number of big things, Ice Station Zebra, for instance, and more importantly, maybe perhaps The Great Escape, which everybody will be familiar with, Steve McQueen doing that thing he does. Sturges wasn't overly fussed, if the truth be known. According to Michael Caine, the only reason that John Sturges did the movie was that he could finance his fishing habit. And no sooner had he said cut on the final scene, he left and was never seen again. And the movie is pretty much constructed by the editor. There's no instruction at all from the director whatsoever. So, to be fair, under the circumstances, the editor of the picture really deserves all the plaudits for this. There's a lot of great action knocking about. It's based, of course, it's set in a village predominantly. A large proportion of this, Maple Durham, is the real village. It is in Berkshire. You can visit it. It is a real place. There's a couple of videos online, if you haven't seen already, of people visiting the site, showing you what's what, showing you where some of the scenes were, in particular the church, which is a build. It's a set that was constructed, although there in the main church there is some photographs and some on-set photographs from the time, so it's certainly a tourist hotspot. So if you are within that neck of the woods in Berkshire, then do by all means pop in and visit, and maybe take reference to some of the notes that we're going to show here as we look at the action on the picture. Stunt coordinator is GERRY CRAMPTON. And, it all goes like this. So, here we are, 1976, and The Eagle Has Landed. From the book of Jack Higgins, written the previous year. We'll start with the train kill. At the start of all of this, there's George Leach playing a rather unpleasant character. The young lady is Leonie Thelen, and I'm telling you this because she's an actress, but I think she's had some physical experience before in connection with physical action. She's picked up here by Michael Caine, goes across to the carriage to put her on, to give her freedom. Up she goes. Now, she is then disposed of, shot. Bang! And she goes into that. Now, I suspect there's a wire there, and I think it's just, you see the gap to the left-hand side there between the slats in the wood. I think she's pulled back into that. It's just her positioning when she goes from standing up to falling over. And it's very good. Very convincing. That moment is what changes the entire section of the film. The pub. Here we are. Down by the coast, Donald Sutherland up there, the lads removing bodies from a boat. These are the German lads, who luckily a majority of them are played by stuntmen, as you'd expect on a picture of this size. Blood on the feet, not a good sign. As they walk back, you've got a chance to identify, in the middle, GERRY CRAMPTON. He's the stunt coordinator on the picture. And Donald Sutherland goes to the pub. Doesn't go well. A pint? That's nearly an armful. Consequently, he falls out with the people inside, who then give him a right good seeing to and throw him out the window. And there he goes, landing in the cabbage patch at the front. He is doubled for this by Eddie Stacey. I can't even read my own typing there. Eddie Stacey doubles him coming out of the window. Bare knuckles. Now this is the introductory scene. Have a listen to this.
Liam Devlin, Marshwarden.
And that's Arthur Seymour. And over there by the fire, Laker Armsby.
Will you join me in a drink?
A pint of bitter wouldn't be a burden.
Pint of bitter, sir.
I buys me own. Coming in here all grand, with a shotgun and your motorbike. Buying drinks for us who's worked the estate for years. And content themselves with less.
Sure, and it can only be because of my good luck.
Make fun of me, boy, and I'll squash you like a slug.
Arthur.
You walk soft around here. You keep your place. And you stay away from Molly Pryor.
Sure, and if I've caused any offense, I'm sorry.
Arthur, now get out.
Today, I leave, boy. But from now on, when you see me, you leave.
He certainly knows how to make an exit, doesn't he? That is Terry Plummer, stuntman Terry Plummer, who plays the acting role here, plays the character, and is now going to have fisticuffs with Donald Sutherland. Now, Donald Sutherland's character is ex-IRA, or IRA connected in some shape or form, working for the Germans, and, as you would expect, doesn't really do Marquis of Queensberry. Terry's very handy, always gets these types of roles, very physical role. Takes a good punch, though. He does take a good punch. Here's one to show you. Bang! Look at that. Great reaction. Delivered with gusto. Now you can see the way that Donald Sutherland's holding his fists there in a very cool and measured way. And Terry's getting, well, a hiding, let's say. And the chaplain is out from the church, actor John Standing. Terry never really lands anything in this. He's on the receiving end of every single one of these punches. Being shot from distance. There's no close-up stuff here, so if they miss, well, they miss. You can't really judge it from there. Does play dirty, as he said. Like that. That's a little unnecessary. The lovely Jenny Agutter tells him to stop. And if Jenny Agutter tells you to do something, well, you do it. It's that simple. This is his death scene now. At her hands. Primarily because of that, I would have thought. And this wouldn't have helped either. He's determined to spill the beans on Donald Sutherland. And she blows a big hole in him. And there he goes. I'd still forgive her. I can forgive her. It's easy. Anyway, moving on. The watermill. Now, the watermill is a landmark moment in the picture. People remember this very... The little girl falls into the water. Who is first into the water? GERRY CRAMPTON dives into the water after her. Bang! Big dive. Manages to get hold of her and push her up the side to the steps where she is being helped. There's a hand coming up. Look, come to me. I've got you. And he is taken into and under the wheel. There's a separate shot then where he's attached to the wheel and goes around. And this is where the village then finds out that these are not Polish soldiers. They are German soldiers. His uniform is very visible as he goes round, and it's a very powerful scene, that. Very powerful. The battle in the village, there's a number of great moments here. Let's start with this. They are opened fire. That's Jim Dowdle, primarily brought on because of his, ex-army, ex-military, and ex-Bapty. Nick Hobbs to the left, Eddie Stacey to the right, disappearing out of the Jeep. Jim's a good man to have on hand because he knows armourers, knows guns inside out, knows exactly what to do with them. So this would be a massive period piece. And there are collisions galore. They're all taking cover from the... they've got the Germans have the high ground here, you see. This is a real village. There's Jim again. And now he's going to fire on the Jeep. The Jeep approaching in the background, driving the Jeep, is Joe Dunn. Joe Dunn, very famous with the Blake Edwards pictures, of course. Peter Sellers double on many, many movies. And there's Joe getting his comeuppance, and he's been killed by Eddie Stacy, who's very happy with his work, clearly. They were great mates. Larry Hagman, who's one of the American Rangers, kicks the door in with this guy and is determined to find the woman in the house. She's integral to the whole movie. If you haven't seen the movie, go and see it. If there are any spoilers in this, by the way, let's just get over it. It's fine. You have to get over it. Anyway, he decides he's going to go upstairs. There she is upstairs. She's got the dog in one hand, a pistol in the other. The other soldier says, sir, don't go up there. You shouldn't be going up there. He goes up there, and he's got a grenade in his hand, right? He's going to pull the pin out of the grenade. She's got a gun. He pulls out the pin of the grenade and then says, Mrs. So-and-so, shouts her name, goes to throw it, and she shoots him and kills him. Not quite textbook exercise, but the fall down the stairs, Nick Hobbs does a lovely little, over he goes and lands in almost slow motion at the bottom of the staircase before the grenade goes off. Now, I've called this cannon roll, and I am relatively convinced of this, but let's just closely have a look at this. That's Jim Dowdle driving this. Look at he's got a neck brace on, and then this happens. Bang! Look, that's a cannon fired from underneath. Now this is 1976. There's Jim playing dead. The first cannon roll was on McHugh in 1974. Gary McClarty doing that. This one, big explosion here, and because there's so much explosion, you kind of miss the performers coming out. I think there's two performers coming out here. See this piece falling now, below it, there, just falling below it now, there's one, there's the other. I think there's two there. And that's a very interesting piece. Very interesting. Big explosion, out they go. Now, this stunt actor moment, get a load of this.
There seems to be some question as to the identity of an American officer who preceded the convoy through the gates, sir.
None of my men led the convoy.
It's Andy Bradford. Now, Andy Bradford didn't become a stuntman until 1980. So this is 1976. He didn't join the register until he started working on Flash Gordon, and of course has worked on many, many pictures as an actor, as a stunt performer. That was Juggernaut. This particular picture is from The Avengers, and of course everybody knows him from Star Wars, and everybody knows him from Octopussy as 009. There we go, a good look at that. Some of the stuff on that is terrific. I remember the water mill sequence vividly. In fact, when anybody ever says Eagle has landed, that's the scene that really reminds me of that movie, because that's the key point in the picture. That's the moment when the villagers realise, hang on, something's not right here, because obviously the uniform, it's GERRY CRAMPTON who jumps into the water. He jumps flat. Somebody asked me the other week why he would dive in flat like that when it's obviously not terribly deep. Well, it is deepish in places, but in order for him not to go deep once he hits the water, then he must land flat and try and disperse his weight, which is what he's done there. Helps the little girl out. A separate shot then of him coming towards camera and under the water, and then a separate shot of him going around the wheel. He is fixed to that wheel, so and it does go round, and he does have to hold his breath obviously as it goes under and it comes back up the other side. So it's quite horrific, giving the idea that he has been impaled on the wheel itself as it goes around. It's a very, very important shot for the film. Terry Plummer, of course. Many of these people, they're no longer with us, you know. It's such a great shame. I think there's Nick Hobbs is still about. Eddie Stacy is still with us. Jim Dowdle, obviously, is still with us as well. There's not many more. Andy Bradford's still with us. And, of course, it was quite rather nice to see Andy in there. I'd forgotten he was in it. I watched it and I thought, sure, that's Andy. Then he gets a speaking part towards the end, which is what we saw there. So I hope that you have enjoyed that. Perhaps this will give you a chance to go off and watch the movie again, maybe, and analyse it a bit further. Next week, we change tact slightly. We go from war movies to war between two individuals inside the boxing ring. We're going to take a look at some of the on-screen boxing fights that have taken place. We're going to try and analyse some of them, because the boxing that you see on film is obviously very different to the boxing you see in the ring, and I want to try and get a bit of an expert eye on this. I'm not a big boxing guy. I haven't really done any boxing. I've done some fights from time to time, but never done boxing as such. Whereas I'm going to get one of my guests to come along. He is not only a very fine author of crime novels, he is Rob Parker, but he's also very good in the ring, bit handy, likes to do a bit of sparring to keep fit, and has had a number of fights. So we're going to take a look at his perspective of what he thinks some of these fights give us. Do they give us any sense of reality? And we're going to analyse that. We're going to take a look at some of the Rocky pictures. I think is probably a very good example. Have a look at those and maybe examine them closer. So that is for next week, and we hope you have enjoyed this, and will join us again next time. Don't forget to check out the Pod Dojo Network, who are responsible for the podcast. And until next time, bye for now.